This is Tuomas from Wolfheart. Before the Dawn of Solace, Blacks and Eon, Rota Cielo, Final Harvest, and I guess a few others still. And you are watching the RichardMetalFan.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Richard Metal Fan Interviews, episode number 160. Today's guest, we're going to be talking to a returning guest, actually, the Tuomas Saukkonen from Wolfheart, Before the Dawn, and Dawn of Solace. Today we're going to be talking to him about the latest releases from all his bands, but mostly about the new Dawn of Solace, the first album in almost a decade. So, without further ado, let's go talk to Tuomas.
So what's up, guys? I have returning with Tuomas Saukkonen with Wolfheart, Before the Dawn, and Dawn of Solace. How are you doing today, man? It's great to be able to talk with you again.
Super busy. That's why I'm 5 minutes late. It feels like the whole day I've been just running against the clock. So getting easier now. Busy times, but in a good way.
It's all good, man. It's so much to talk about in so little time. First thing before we go into the new Before the Dawn, I like to talk because I know last year you did a little acoustic Dawn of Solace EP. What was the whole inspiration to do like an acoustic EP?
Well, I really enjoy the whole process to do this kind of like unplugged things, because you need to strip the whole song to the very core. Like first in the studio, you do the production with so many layers and tracks and instruments and stuff like that. Then you are forced to recreate the song with just one instrument and one track of vocals. I think it's super interesting to like tear your own songs to pieces that way. And I love Mikko's voice and how he is able to carry the whole song with just me doing something so small and simple in the background. So
yeah, and his voice sounds really great. I think he's a really great singer.
Yeah, and how much his voice fills the whole, like the less I play there, the bigger his voice becomes.
Yeah. And then also, I know last October you released the new Wolfheart album, King of the North, one of my favorite albums from last year. Here, what was the thought process going into that? Did you want to try something different than you did on Wolves of Karelia or the EP you put out last year?
Yeah, we took the tempo a tiny bit down. Like I didn't want to go that much like full with the blast beats and stuff like that. Also because of the theme of the album, Wolves of Karelia was about the Winter War, so the topic being part of the Second World War kind of like puts a different aggression for the music itself. The King of the North was only about Finnish mythology, a lot of like nature stuff, old folklores, demigods from the Finnish pagan history. So also for that kind of like theme, it fit a little bit more better, a little bit slower and more melodic, and also there was a lot more vocals from Vangelis and Lauri.
Yeah, and what was and did their vocals sort of like add like a new sort of like dynamic to Wolfheart?
Yeah.
And awesome.
We are like super lucky to have like a strong enough vocalists, both sides on me on the stage, that they could actually lead every song. Like they are not just backing singers. They are not just doing. I could give a lot bigger role for them in the future, because each one of the guys is now able to lead their own vocal parts. So.
Yeah, and speaking of vocalists, I know you had some guest features, which is, I believe, the first time on a Wolfheart album. Like, I love the Ancestor with Jesse Leach from Killswitch Engage. Like we kind of the last person I would expect on a Wolfheart album. Like, what's it like working with him, and how do you end up singing on Ancestor?
Well, it's a weird story, because when we started the whole like pre-production of the album, our management was suggesting like maybe we should try some guest vocals for this album. I was like, no, definitely not. I don't like the idea of having guest vocals. I don't think it benefits anybody in the long run anyway. And I was prepared to like have a bigger role for Vangelis and Lauri anyway. So I want to put the spotlight on them. I don't want like a outsider, like a bigger name to steal that spotlight. But then we were at the studio finalizing the album. We already recorded most of the songs. And I got this message from a Russian fan sending me a link to Jesse's stories. And there was a story about his girlfriend, and he had one of our songs called Valkyries playing in the background. we decided already inside the band that we don't want to have any guest vocals because I want to keep the spotlight on Lauri and Vangelis and their bigger role on the vocal side. We had almost the whole album recorded and ready when I get an Instagram message from a Russian fan, and he sent me just a link to Jesse's stories. It was a story about his girlfriend, and he had one of our songs called Valkyries playing on the background. And I never had any connection with Jesse. We don't share any like music business connections with between our bands. And he's one of my vocal idols, like from Alive or Just Breathing. That was one of the albums it was a huge influence on me, even though I don't do the similar vocals myself. But I had to write a comment. I had to write a comment on the story, that nice choice of a song. I didn't expect to any reply or anything, but then he replied with the very long message about how has been into Wolfheart music for a long time, and they listen to our music sometimes with their friends when they go to a campfire, and he's kind of like a fan of the music and asking how things are going with the band and everything. And I was mentioning that we are now at the studio recording new stuff. I sent some music for him to listen, and he was like, this is just my kind of music that if you ever need like a guest vocals, like I'm ready to go. I'm like, fuck. And thing is, like, we had all the songs recorded also with the vocals at that point. I didn't have a song. Now you're back. So I didn't have a song ready for him. So I wrote Ancestor it was not to be on the album. There was no Ancestor in the pre-production. So I wrote the song in 2 days when I heard that Jesse would be interested in doing the vocals. And I told him, like, I have a song, I will send you a demo in 2 days. I wrote the song, did the demo, sent it to him, and that's when we started working together. So
awesome. And can we maybe get like a Killswitch Engage Wolfheart tour soon?
I would love that. I don't know how rest of the Killswitch Engage is seeing the whole situation, but yeah, that would be awesome. But I think that seems very distant thing at the moment. But awesome. The coolest thing is because sometimes when you have like a bigger names, they just do the thing and you get the track and that's the end of the conversation. But when we did the North American tour with Flesh God Apocalypse and Obscura, he actually messaged me that like, you come to my hometown, can I join the show? And I would love to do Ancestor with you on the stage. So I actually came to do the song.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wish I would have been there. That would have been fucking awesome.
That was so nerve-wracking. I've never been that nervous on stage before. Because we never played the song before because of course he's a big part of the song, so it didn't feel right to have Lauri or Vangelis do his part. So we decided that's not going to be on the set list. We never properly rehearsed it because of that. So suddenly we are at the sound check with Jesse Leach, and that was nerve-wracking, but super awesome at the same time.
Awesome. And now we also have the new Before the Dawn album, which came out like a week ago. And I think I might have asked this in like the last interview, but what made you decide to start back up Before the Dawn?
Well, in a way, we didn't even decide. It was never a plan at all. We, like me and Juho, who are the core members, he's super busy with Swallow the Sun. I'm busy with Wolfheart, so it didn't make any sense to bring Before the Dawn back in schedule-wise. And it never would have come back if Paavo wouldn't have done Dead Song in Voice of Finland, because that started the whole process. Not that didn't even start the comeback like a plan. I started to be in contact with him during the competition, and when he was done with the finals, I asked him would he like to work with me with some musical project. I might have some songs or ideas that could fit for his voice, and we could try them out and see how it goes, and it would be more like his solo project or something. I would just make songs if he would be happy about it. We went to the studio, we recorded the song, and when I was driving home from the studio, listening to the mix of the song, then I realized, like, fuck, this sounds like Before the Dawn. And that moment, that car ride started the whole thing. And that song was eventually really released under the name Downhearted. And
awesome.
That song is the reason why the whole comeback started.
And did you want to pick up where you left off after the last album, or being as it has been like almost a decade, do you want to consider this side like a fresh new start for Before the Dawn in a way?
We went back to the roots, so to speak. Like the last album of Before the Dawn was completely different than the previous ones. There was no clean vocals at all. There was a lot more like blast beats and a lot faster double bass stuff. It was, to me, last Before the Dawn album was already the first Wolfheart album. So it's it doesn't fit to the rest of the back catalog at all. So we went to like the core of Before the Dawn, which is basically the era where between 2003 and 2016.
Awesome. And you also have a new vocalist that Pablo. So what was that like working with him? Did that sort of like change or bring sort of like new elements to Before the Dawn?
Well, he did, because I did wrote all the songs myself, but I wanted to have all the initial ideas for the vocal arrangements and ideas from him. Not that I'm telling him anything what he needs to do in the studio, but I sent him all the demos of the instrumental versions, and then he started sending me his ideas of vocals, and we started working all the vocals based on that. And the biggest difference to me, at least, is that I used to do all the growling arrangements, of course, because I did the growling vocals. Now there's a new guy whose ideas brought all the vocals for the album.
Awesome.
What was super cool, that when he was learning to do clean vocals and growlings, he was using a lot of the older Before the Dawn albums. So his style of the ideas and the sounds that he has fits super well already, because it's partly kind of like made for Before the Dawn already. So there was something new, but nothing too new. So it didn't change anything that much. But of course, there's a fresh change with the sound of the vocal.
Awesome. And I know you also play drums on the album, as well as doing some additional guitar. Do you feel like a different attachment to playing drums than you do playing guitar? Is it almost kind of like the same thing? You're just like rocking and rolling, but just on a different instrument?
The biggest difference is live. Like I played albums in so many Before the Dawn. I played drums in so many Before the Dawn albums, even on the first Wolfheart and the Dawn of Solace and Black Sun Ian and all of those. So doing the drumming on the studio for my own songs wasn't nothing new to me at all. It's just part of the process, basically. But live is a completely different thing, when you can just sit back and you don't need to be in the front. You don't feel entertained. You don't feel like you are entertaining. You are a lot more like just sitting in the back, focused on the music, and being the backbone for the band. So yeah, the feeling live is completely different.
Right. Awesome. And do you like emotionally, do you try to like capture like a moment, like whether it be a difference between playing guitar or versus playing drums? Because usually when people say you play drums, it's just like pounding aggression, but you could definitely feel a different emotion, like depending on how you play it.
Yeah, there is it varies a lot from different songs. Like there are some songs where the drum playing is just pure fun, 100% just fun. And in some songs, you really feel like you are the heartbeat of the song.
Kind of what I also want to talk about is this year does mark 10 years of the debut Wolfheart album, Winterborn. So what's like the thought process going into that album? And I know last year was also the last 10-year anniversary of the last Wolfheart Before the Dawn. How do you feel about that?
Well, it doesn't feel like there was so much time between. It feels weird that there's a decade already from Winterborn. It doesn't feel that old album, and we still play several songs from that album each set, so it doesn't feel like it's been 10 years. The funny thing is, it feels a lot longer from the last Before the Dawn album. So that feels like that happened ages ago. And the Winterborn still feels like it was just yesterday, which is weird because there's so little time between those albums. But I guess because the other one was ending the band already, and the other one brought something new to life, you see the albums differently. The other one was like a birth. The other one was like a funeral album in a way. So I think that's why it feels completely different. Like it's how measuring the time.
Awesome. And kind of the last question I wanted to ask you to sort of wrap things up. I'm always curious about like your gear, like what kind of like guitars you use, strings, pedals, and even like some of your drum setup for recording.
Well, I'm super simple with the guitars. I don't understand. Like I do get the point, but to me it doesn't work that I collect several guitars. I'm too much of like as a working man. When I do gardening, I use one shovel for the whole summer.
Awesome.
And same with the guitars. I used to have one custom guitar. Now I changed the company. I sold the old one, and now I have this. It's called Raato. It's Finnish, like a very small custom shop, and they hand build this guitar, and that's the only guitar I have, and that's the only guitar I play, and that is the only guitar I play on the studio with every band or album at the moment, or the past 4 years. And I don't enjoy using plugins, so we use amps at the studio. It's usually my old amp, Silver Blade, or Diesel Herbert. That's we use.
Awesome.
And I think it's very important for a guitar player that you hear the final sound when you play, because your hands, especially
Yeah, sorry about that.
Especially your picking hand reacts differently. It reacts to what you hear. So if you record with a completely different sound than you're going to have in the final mix, your playing doesn't match 100% for the sound. So I get that it's easier that you can just like record the DI tracks and then just reamp or use whatever plugins you can find. But I'm very old school. I want to record with the sound that's going to be on the album. And
Awesome.
I want to have tube amps. I want to have the cabinet. I want to have the mic in front of the speaker. I think it's better still.
Awesome. And so before we go, I just want to thank you for this little interview. It was great to be able to talk with you. Is just anything else with your projects you'd like to plug? And is there a chance maybe you could bring Before the Dawn to the States for a tour one day?
I would love that to happen. We never got to play any shows in North America before we buried the band. So that's a territory we never put our foot in. So that would be definitely one in the bucket list.
Awesome. So everybody, Tuomas from Before the Dawn, Wolfheart, and Dawn of Solace. We'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thank you.